Hello, good morning. Maybe big number of people disagree with this. Say the flow of the traffic is exactly the epitome or the reflection of the flow of the emotions, how they are. I don't know if you take a look at the way people were driving after the Second World War in the 40s, 50s. The vehicles, the cars were slow, not like today. They were very heavy, slow. People drive, they have a departure point and they have a destination. During this journey, they have a time. They have a time to talk, they have a time to admire, to contemplate. It's not like today. There is very speedy, life is speedy, person doesn't pay attention. He is not enjoying the ride. Even to you go for work, you go to work, still he doesn't enjoy the ride at all. The destination is kind of consuming the journey. The destination itself is overlapping the departure point. I don't want to live the journey. I don't want to feel the journey. And why is that? Because I'm in a hurry. No, not because I'm in a hurry. Because there is something during the journey, during the ride, during the trip, that is called duty of conscience. In every single moment, I don't like to live it. And I call myself, I'm very focused. I know what I want in my life. The whole life is a journey. These are all segments of time and segments of space, of course. In astrophysics, you cannot speak about time without including space. And you cannot speak about space without including time. Same thing. Look at the way they drive today. What is strange is when the abnormality is normalized. You speak about something like this. What are you talking about? That's very normal. People, they drive, just try to fit in the society. What do you try to be like a utopian or what? That is weird. That is strange. At least if human being accept the fact that is abnormal, he has opened the door to possibilities, but he closed the doors. Possibilities to rectify. If there is an error, I should rectify my error, or at least I can modify something in a near or far future, which is not the case. I see it as normal. Same thing I'm going to give the example of the cigarette. It doesn't mean because I'm pointing my finger on anybody. Again, I repeat it many times. In my own family, my entourage, people smoke and this, but it doesn't mean that it has to be accepted and has to be seen acceptable. You have the first thing that the first time you take the cigarette and you try to inhale the nicotine, you know what happens to your body. You have the whole blow in the body. You are suffocated. You are coughing. You may throw up, vomit, with a headache. Look at that. The body is very normal. The cells are rejecting, defending the body as contingent. And then here you come, the James Bond attitude, with the blonde lady attitude next to him, to make it acceptable. It's like a demeanor of a gentleman, to impress. When I do this, I please the audience. In my mind, you please nobody. You're impressing yourself. And then The body is, look at that, defending, and then these forces start being diminished, and that's it. They surrender to the nicotine, they become nicotine. And then what is very strange, the abnormality is now such a point normalized up to the point that illusions become reality and reality becomes illusions. If I don't smoke, I'm going to have a headache. And I feel so tired. And here comes the person, the spectator, or the person who's going to make an observation, the observer is going to say, look, that's very normal, just let him. Not exactly about the cigarette, but other things in life. More abstract, not concrete. Look, that's very normal. They analyze, they do the research based on false symptoms. Instead of saying to the person, try to make an effort and see this as abnormal, you have already accomplished 50%. Abnormal, you see it as an abnormal. You accept it as it's abnormal. And then you make an effort. There are something, steps to go through. Possibility you can quit. But no, that's very normal. And then I glamorize that attitude. The attitude, abnormality is glamorized. Getting back to this normalizing the way people drive. And then they champion with words in psychology. They include this. They call it road rage. They call it this. Look at the human being today. How can we determine? How do we know the virginity of a human being? How do we know his innate? How was he created? Why he is like this? He was created in a state of submissiveness. Submissiveness is welcoming. He's no longer like that. The reason why the Creator said, I haven't created the jinn and human being only to worship. He didn't say station. He used the verb. ما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون. ما خلقت الجن. He said that the only reason, the only attitude, his destination is to remain in a state of humility, to accept. He can use anything he wants. He wants to become a domineer with a self-aggrandizement that's going to create within his mind spreading something. What is it? Undulations, ripples. This is what's going to create. He was created in such a way to have those ripples. They exist ripples. You drop a rock in the water. What do you see? Ripples spreading towards the periphery. And the spread, or I should say the dimensions of these circles according to the density of the rock. Sometimes this is existing in his innate. If he remains in a state of humility, the ripples do not spread. They will be inside with tranquility. This kind of dimension is it's innate. It's inside. It becomes inwardly instead of being outwardly. But if he loses this state, he loses this state of submissiveness, of humility, they become outside, and he is driven, not willingly, consciously, he is driven by inconscience. The space outside, it is already, he is deprived of space. Inside, he tried to recuperate it in the external world, in the objective world. I don't know if I'm making myself understandable. The state of humility. You cross, you coexist with the others, you find the space left, both of them. They cross, they bump into each other. This person is surrendering to that action. This person is surrendering to that action. What is left here? A grass, tiles, earth, piece of land. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking what is in the brain. There is a space in the neurons. This space, according to the person's conscience, he left it. So there are not ripples outside pushing him to recuperate the space. He has it already inwardly. If two of them are like this, affection, compassion, sympathy, empathy that existing inside him, that are all moral values, they belong to the Creator. He is deprived of them. He is living like a cadaver without soul. There's no dimension in the brain. He's just driven by irresistible forces that we call compulsions to recuperate. The way it is, you make a distinction. Look at the cars, people, how the way they drove cars in the 50s and today the way they drive. The topic is when the system becomes aggressive and causes and provokes aggressivity. Today, they have the word, they call it a pit maneuver in the United, like this. They stop a person, okay, he made a mistake or it's an infraction. Then a person they smell because he was smoking something, therefore he's a criminal. You know, he's a criminal because the one who stopped him, he is a part of Jesus' disciples, if you know what I mean. Maybe he's worse than him. You know, and you cannot. This is what you would call an idolatric institution. You cannot. Everyone is submissive to this rigidity. This person didn't want to stop because he knows he's going to face a torture, being handcuffed, going to the jail, sentenced God knows for how long. A person who killed someone, with some lawyers, he got 15 years. Second degree murder is not considered as a first degree murder. Another one, they found him with something, quantity of marijuana. He was sentenced 15 years. Same thing. Look at that. They found him, I don't know, he was selling it or he was smoking it, whatever. Well, people, the whole country is living in distress. The difference between people is the manner how they take the tranquilizers. Someone takes, you know, the injection, and we call him a bad person. Another one is smoking it. Another one is taking it pills. Another one, but, you know, all of them are under stress. So you have this pit maneuver. The person is going to run away because he doesn't want to stop. He said, take a chance. If you go to the statistics and then they don't tell you the truth about the statistics, how many people die while running away. You cannot run away from the law. What did he do? I'm not defending them. Some of them are criminals, that is true. But along these, you know, pursuit, how many people they risk to die? And then they call it technique. The pit maneuver is a technique. No, they teach them in the police academy how you run after him and you hit him. The car is like this. You come behind him. You touch him with your front left bumper. You touch his back right bumper. And he loses the balance and flips over. Do you have an idea how many people, what, does he have kids inside? Many times people die inside. He was pronounced dead, and the way they announce death, it's like they are talking about roaches, not human being. He was pronounced after he arrives at the hospital, he was pronounced dead. And sometimes even those police officers. And the police officer, because he thinks he is Tarzan, because he is Elliot Ness, the way with the car, he hits the other car, they hit other cars. Have you thought about the money, the budget of the money you are spending just because of one person? This is not a utopian society. This is when criminology becomes glamorized. This is when aggressivity becomes glamorized. Look at the way they are. Leave this aside. You know, the Creator described the human being. He said, Those who worship God, Ar-Rahman, he said, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ. He described them the way they walk. He didn't describe them the way they ride a camel or a horse. Because walking is exactly showing you, even if a person will own one day a transportation, his behavior will be alike. He said, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. He described them the way they walk and the way they bump into other people, ignorant. Do you understand how people, they don't argue, they don't try to win a debate, they don't try to win an argument, they live submissively. He said, the servants of God, when in fact there is the wa. The wa has a very deep definition here, but it is not mentioned in English. It says, the servant of God, of the merciful, are those who walk on the earth in humility. He's by himself. You are by himself. Why don't you just walk, with this, make your pectorals like on deltoids and show off the way, with the steroids? They are by themselves and they go. It is the frequency of Moses, peace be upon him. Very strong man, he walked with a cane. They walk like this because they accept, the lordship. They welcome the lordship. They don't walk as if it is my space. It's God's space, not yours. You will be buried in this space one day. Say, يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. You say, in humility. And when the ignorant address them, they say peace. إِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. So this person, if he owns a car, he will drive the same thing. If they provoke him, he will do his best to give possible the same thing. He say, قَالُوا سَلَامًا. He will give priority. Now, you are living in a place, every arena is a gladiatorial arena. Of course you cannot survive. It's not you cannot survive. You have to know what time you have to drive, what time, but look at the way the world is. Getting back to the analysis, the flow of the emotions, the utopian society, the utopian society is the utopian who thinks, who scrutinize the emotions before they become epitomized in the objective world. They think about the psychic world, how society. Who's supposed to do this? People of the book and the Muslims on the top. Muslims are not. No, Muslims, they import. They don't have local, domestic production, manufacturing. They import everything, import. I'm talking about the psyche, not about merchandise. They should think about how to prepare human being to have this kind of absorption, humility, submissiveness in such a way that the space will be enough and people give each other and live with God's moral values. Prophet ﷺ, he said, Innama, in Arabic, means only reason. The unique reason I came for, he said, Innama bu'ithtu li'utammima makarim al-akhlaq. He said to give an extension to the moral values. He found moral values in the Jewish community. He found moral values in the Chinese, in the Greeks, Arabs, Christians. He said to give an extension. He didn't say to eliminate, to guide and to orient. But the moral values are spawned from the humility of God, to show them how to have these in front of God. Is it happening? It doesn't happen. Why? Because the one who is responsible to preach this, no, he is importing. As you can see, the Muslims in their mosques, they import the institutionalization of the emotions by putting these lines, the straight lines, in the mosque, the place where you're supposed to kill the institution, to eliminate the institution, to allow people to live with each other. Yet, no, they import the institutionalization of the emotions, they spread it in the mosque to automatize the believers. They become like automatons standing there. They think they are together, but they are not together. They speak to each other, but they are not with each other. Thank you for listening. I see you soon.